Good Saturday afternoon. Return to the Knicks fans. What's going on? We're going to talk some basketball. To trade or not to trade is the question we have. Salute to everyone, man. I haven't spoken to everyone in quite some time since the Knicks season has come over. We did one video or two there, but what's going on, man? Let's talk about the New York Knicks. We got a couple of days before the NBA draft. Of course, we know the Knicks do not, for now, have a first round pick, although things could change where they could trade into that first round. This Knicks team right now, the front office, I kind of wonder what they're going to do personally. Um, I don't know if there's a gut feeling that they'll probably try to trade back in to the late first round if there's a shooter or a player, a wing player that they like, or even a power forward that they like who could shoot threes in the late rounds with the Lakers. Lakers could use some cap relief. I've been saying that before. If the Lakers, doesn't want to spend or commit to that, or is it $3 million threshold for that, for if they were to draft that pick in their round, and maybe the Knicks will send them something, a second round pick or something where they could help them take that money off their books for draft consideration. I can see the Knicks getting back into the late rounds, with Brock Aller and company. They are very well scouting with their late round picks. Case in point, man, quickly, Quentin Grimes, Jericho Sims. The beautiful names that are out there. And listen, let's give kudos to the Knicks before we get into what we're really talking about, the deal or not the deal. The Knicks, when it comes to drafting players, they haven't had many. They haven't had a thud, at least under this administration here. Even with Scott Perry, we all know Scott Perry exited the organization, and they haven't named the general manager there. But with Rojas, who knows if they're going to name a general manager? They haven't named it yet. It would be nice if they were to name one before the draft starts. At least we know who's going to be buying the groceries. We know it's Leon Rose and company, but we shall see there. Mr. Steve, hello, amigo. Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon. And of course, we're talking about the draft and to deal or not to deal. A lot of speculation. A lot of us are putting our general manager hats on. I see the videos. I'm doing a good job, fellas. I'm gonna put mine. You know what? Why not myself? I'm gonna bite. I'm gonna bite like a fish, and I'm gonna jump in there and put my general manager hat on and see what the names out there. And of course, the number one name that's being speculated and swirled around is Bradley Beal. Now, Bradley Beal, we all know he has a full no trade clause with the Washington Wizards. He's gonna, first and foremost, he has to accept where he wants to go. He has to flat out say, I want to go to XY team, and then the team will negotiate. Now, when you give a player a no trade clause, in my opinion, you're losing the power of where you could send them or getting the best possible assets back. If Bradley Beal, let's say for instance, the Washington Wizards want to trade Beal to OKC. Beal says, hell no, I won't go. You're not going to get nothing where you could get good compensation. That's the one thing when NBA teams, I'm glad that the Knicks learned their lesson with the Carmelo Anthony no trade. It's a tough one. It's a tough one on that. With that said, I'll just turn the whole thing off. I always want to put a little extra music to something different, but it always seems to be too loud for some reason. So I'll just kill the music. Yes, so Bradley Beal with the no trade, he's going to make 46 next year, $46 million towards a cap, 50 and 53 million. Now, you got to get something to give something. Bradley Beal, what worries me with Bradley Beal, of course, is his health. It could be also because the Washington Wizards wanted to tank a little bit. I don't know. But the trading package, there has been a lot of reports and rumors on what will it take to get him here. It's centered around an R.J. Barrett. One report I saw Mitchell Robinson, along with Evan Fournier and even Derrick Rose expiring contract to fit the numbers. My question is, if we lose Mitchell Robinson, you're losing your defensive presence up the middle. We know Hartenstein, and that means you're sliding in Jericho Sims to be your backup center. Remember, Hartenstein played extremely well, but the more he's out there, do you think he could guard the guys like and Joel Embiid, Jokic? You know the names of the center. Also, we heard Nas Reed was a name that the Knicks liked. I don't know personally what their game plan. I think one move, if they do make a move like that, there's a big domino effect. I know people were saying, or at least the NBA insiders, if the Knicks make that move for Beal, they have room to make another move for another superstar. This is the big season, in my opinion, for the NBA. Trading deadline before the new year. They have a new collective bargaining agreement going to kick in. It's going to be a little bit extremely difficult for teams to have three supermax deals under contract. And you're going to see the mid-level guys this year will be very high premium, in my opinion, to try to get players in and move around. That's why the Hart contract is going to be very interesting. If he makes if he opts in or he stays opts out towards the cap as well. The Knicks doesn't have a lot of cap room, but they're not near that luxury tax. So they have a lot of draft pick. They have a lot of capital to make some moves. Bradley Beal, for me, if he was making in under 30, under 45, under 40 million, Bradley Beal would have made sense. If he was a 34 million, $36 million player, I would say, you know what, Knicks, go for it. Because yeah, it's only a 10 to $12 million difference, but it takes away from getting you another player that could be impactful. That means you got to say goodbye possibly to a Harkenstein resigning or a player that's going to be, another wing who could defend, a defensive specialist. And I know they're going to retain Hart because they have his bird rights. But let's say they wanted to bring in another wing defender like Hart with that extra money, say goodbye to that. So that's what the NBA cap does there. So personally, for the price tag of a Bradley Beal, I'll say no, and then you guys will say, "But wait a minute, we never you every superstar out there that we could get, we're always saying no to." It's not saying no to. You also got to be financially responsible. Um, you don't want to spend your money all in one place. If you get your paycheck, you don't go spend it all on Walmart in the first night. You have to also pay other bills, and you have to be smart with your money. And one thing I gotta give kudos to the Knicks organization. They don't do stupid moves. They don't do stupid moves. They do really good moves. They buy the groceries smart. And again, I was talking about their draft. They haven't missed on a draft from all the way from, you could say, from Mitchell Robinson. RJ's a player in the league. Toppin, believe it, regardless if he may not be the superstar we want, but he's still panned out in the league. Hi, Chris. And they've been they have not missed in their draft. I can't complain. I can't sit here and say their drafting sucks like in years past. They have they even have a player for next season, and everybody will love him to come this year. Don't forget Jokovitis. Jokovitis, another one, has playing in the Spaniard League, playing well, stashed away with options. He'll be returning. He'll be probably coming next year. Probably play summer league this year, return back to Europe, and come back in 2024. Unless I look at my notes there. So we talked about Bradley Beal. I am in a no go for Bradley Beal um, because of the price tag. The talent wise, you could use that 25 point a night scorer. Absolutely. I think he's going to hamper your cap. Also, Miami has been a big name, a proponent for Bradley Beal. It'll be interesting to see what would they center that around to fit the salaries there. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Duncan Robinson or Hero going back to Miami. Wonder what that'll be interesting with some picks there. Um, we shall see on that one. Another name that they've been talking about, Kristaps Porzingis, return back to New York. Porzingis is on it. Will be making $36 million next year, and he has a player option for 39 million, which I know guarantee he'll be picking that up. I think the days of Kristaps Porzingis to be an impactful player are over. I think he's going to be a serviceable stretch five. Personally, the price for me is little again too high. I said, wait a minute, you don't want to spend money on no one. Not being cheap, you got to find out what Kristaps doesn't stay too much healthy. So you're taking, and I know Mitchell Robinson doesn't stay healthy all the time, but when he plays, I believe he's more impactful than Kristaps Porzingis. He blocks, he rebounds, offense rebounds. For what the Knicks do, I think Mitchell Robinson fits more than what Kristaps Porzingis under Tom Thibodeau will bring. I can see Tom Thibodeau getting frustrated, and that's another thing that we're going to talk about Thibodeau. He's his third year of a 5-year deal. I think I think this is his final year with Tom Thibodeau. I think Tom Thibodeau doesn't make it, not because he's not because the Knicks are going to underachieve or not go there. I think it's going to be a tall telling sign if we don't hear contract extension for Tom Thibodeau. Although Dolan isn't afraid of extending a coach and having him go away. We've seen that years, but I don't think Tom Thibodeau coaches his fifth and final year as a lame duck head coach. I think the Knicks will, they'll mutually part ways in a professional manner. I don't, and it doesn't mean the Knicks are gonna not make the playoffs and they're not gonna have a bad season. I'm not saying that either. I think they're gonna see where they're gonna play. They're gonna have a good season. But I think Thibodeau is going to want to say, you know what, I'm going to step aside and allow them to go another level. That's just me. I'm just making that as a hot take or as a prediction. Because if they don't give him a contract extension this off season, then that's what all tell sign shows. Now we were talking about some other players. Jose Melo, saludo. Jose Melo actually brought up an interesting name in the other podcast on the baseball podcast. Talk about go ahead, Jose Melo. Put that tweet if you could write that out in the chat. That trade proposal you had was a really good one. I think it had to do with Julius Randle and for Paul George. Now, everyone want to let you know Julius Randle has his contract will be $25 million next season, 27 and 29 million. Of course, there's some trade kickers in a Randle's contract. For what Randle gives you, 25 points, 10 rebounds, durable. For that money, that's a steal for the Knicks. Now, as quickly as we want to get rid of Julius Randle, who has the most value, the money that he makes on that contract for what he gives us, it makes me want to like, wow, should we really move from Julius Randle? And we're like, man, should we really move from Randle? And that really right there holds you from wanting to make a move. But a lot of teams, so you're going to be on a crossroads. Is it Julius Randle? Is it R.J. Barrett? Because Brunson isn't going anywhere. And then you have everyone else around them available for trade. I think Brunson's untouchable. And even one of the two of the front office have to pick which one they want to stay or go to build with Jalen Brunson. Also, Emmanuel Quickly is eligible for an extension. Emmanuel Quickly, he could easily make $20 million for what he brings to the NBA. And it's funny because he'll only be $5 million away from Randle. And Hart looks like he's going to make 18. I ask you guys this. Quickly or Josh Hart, which is the better player? The reason why I asked this, more impactful, that's the one that's going to make the most money of the two, even by $2 million difference. Because you know that agents use that as negotiation tactic to one another. Well, this one impact this or this one, and that's why it's hard for you guys it's hard for me to sit here and think they can make that Bradley Beal deal for a 30-year-old guard. And the good thing about Beal, even when his contract isn't kicking for the high numbers, he's still being his prime. That's the one thing I'm going to give Beal a flag, a good wave, a pom-pom for, is he's going to be 31 when he makes 50 million, and 53 million, it will be 32. He's still got a lot of basketball in him. Maybe New York gets him jump started, gets him going. We know he's a scorer. Before the Wizards went into a tanking mode, I kind of need a little background music, fellas. I'm sorry. I know you guys don't like the music, but I need background music. I'm sorry. It's like I'm hearing nothing. At least the background music gets me in rhythm and gets me going a little bit. So I know some of you guys don't like it, but I really apologize. I have to put some. It just gets me going there, especially when you're by yourself on a podcast. I need some there to just go talk in rhythm. All right, so we're back here with the Bradley Beal situation. My thoughts and my concern with that is that he's still young. Before they were really bad, the Wizards, He was a good defender. He was known as being a real good defender, not one of the NBA tops, but he was a really good defender in the guard. I don't know if the injuries or the lack of defense around his team didn't get him invested. But I am right now. If I want to see the Knicks get Beal, I'm at right now. I'll be honest with you, I'll be 65-35 not to get Bradley Beal because of the financial situation. Now Porzingis, I don't want no if, ands, or buts for Kristaps Porzingis at $36 million. When you take off an old pair of sneakers that you worn that are beat up, you don't wear them again. You discard them. And I think that's what we'll do with the Kristaps Porzingis. I don't want to see here. Another name to keep an eye out. Here it is. I got it here. Let's let go Jose Melo with the trade here. 3-team deal. Clippers land Lillard. Knicks get Paul George. Portland gets RJ and Obi. Fournier, 3 first-round picks by the Knicks and 1 by the Clippers. So that's a proposed deal that he heard, or Jose Melo has bought out, and he bought that on a different stream. Your thoughts, fellas? Your thoughts on that one? Man, RJ Barrett. I mean, you have to give something to give something. You're gonna get better with RJ Barrett. You also move Obi Toppin. And Damian Lillard, I got his numbers. He's going to make $45 million next year, 48. And this is the one that hurts. This is the ouch, because he's going to make $58 million. So by the end of the contract, $58 million. I believe Lillard is 34, so it'll be 35, 36, 37. 37-year-old making $58 million. Here's the deal with that one. Do you think by year 2 of Damian Lillard, before the $58 million kicks in, do you think the Knicks are in the NBA Finals? That's my question. In 2 years, or the 3 years, when Damian Lillard reaches and makes $58 million for the Knicks, have the Knicks won an NBA title by then? And if the answer in your heart is yes, then the $58 million that is going to cost us cap casualty, you know what? So be it. If we are in the NBA Finals and we win that title, and that kicker kicks in, so be it. I'm at that point myself as a Knicks fan for over 50 years. The Knicks have not won. Oh, hopefully nothing goes crazy here. I will personally love to see them win that NBA title with Damian Lillard, Brunson, and my God, Julius Randle. Hopefully my computer is not acting crazy. And of course it's acting crazy. It never fails. Always never a dull moment with my computer or the streams, all the good stuff there. But that's why it makes it fun here. So Damian Lillard, I would like to, but if you could tell yourself that they're going to win the NBA title by then, so be it. Because he is a dynamic scorer, but does it work with Jalen Brunson and Damian Lillard? I think it could work. I think it will work. I think Jalen Brunson, his pedigree with Villanova, the way he's brought up and playing smart basketball, could work with the Knicks. But then what does that mean with Emmanuel Quickley? What does that mean with the Quickly's role, McBride role? I know you bring some horses. You're still going to be down a wing. And if you're going to put Quentin Grimes on that role, or do you feel comfortable with Quentin Grimes playing that small forward, the 3 and D wing? Is he strong enough? It's a lot of different questions, a lot of incomplete pieces. But boy, you got 3 dynamic players in Randle, Lillard, with Brunson, along with Mitchell Robinson in the middle. So that tells you something there. But damn, they'll still be a little too short in my opinion. But again, that's another one. Here's one of the moves that I want to make, and I've been saying it for over. How long have I been on? It's going to be 2 years now. It's going to be 2 years that I've been on doing a stream, regardless of. And 2 years I started my own channel. 2 years I've been in YouTube talking, giving my thoughts and my opinion. The picture, yeah, it's the StreamYard. That's why I didn't use my other platform today. I said, let me go to StreamYard, and this is why the reason why I leave. I'm contemplating leaving StreamYard because their quality of pictures not that good, or video is not a good one, Steve. That's the reason why I do the other platform better. The Melon. And hey, sorry, step up your game, StreamYard. You cost too expensive. Hey, I said it. And I'll go right into it. It's Zion Williamson. I know everyone's like, oh. I've been saying it for the last 2 years. I want Zion. I've been saying, let's get Zion Williamson here. Zion is only going to make 33, 36, and $38 million. And right now, you could buy him on the cheap. We all know that Zion does not want to be in New Orleans. And I know Mr. Darnell Davis has been saying that with me. He doesn't want to play in New Orleans. From the very moment he got drafted, they had to usher him out of the green room. He was very irate. He doesn't see eye to eye with the training staff, the medical staff in New Orleans. He doesn't want to live in New Orleans. I asked yesterday Chris the Flash on the Yankee podcast about the city of New Orleans. I didn't want to come out here and start talking negative or saying something that I don't know about New Orleans. You know, like for instance, I wouldn't want anyone to say anything negative where I live in Orlando without not being here. You know, and again, I see a lot of different podcasts that talks about the wrestling. It's a wrestling podcast that talks about the people in Orlando. Because it gets taped in Orlando, and they talk negative about Orlando, and they've never been to the city, and they assume something about our city or people. And wait a minute, you don't live here. So that's why I like to ask Chris that he lives in New Orleans. Tell me about your city. I don't want to put it down, or I don't want to say negative about your city, because what the reports are, athletes don't want to be here. Now, he did correct me and said that Chris Paul did not want to leave New Orleans, and I thought all reports are he wanted out, and he corrected me on that one. But we all know Anthony Davis was dying to get out of there. Remember, he wore the T-shirt. That's all, folks. He wanted to get the hell out of New Orleans. Zion wants to get out, and I asked him, what is in New Orleans that is there? Is it the nightlife is very limited, or is there nothing here? And I even compared myself, to Orlando. Orlando, the club scene is very, very small, antiquated. It's a college town, yes, but it's very small. It's only a small spot where you could just go and it's downtown Orlando, and that's it. There's not much here. That's why you see a lot of athletes don't. If you're here for a family, man, if you're an NBA player that wants to play NBA basketball and you have a nice family, you want a big monster house for the money you're going to make, not pay state taxes, Orlando is the place where you're not going to get in trouble. Miami, if you want to have the same perks and you want to have nightlife, you go down to Miami to South Beach. Now, I don't know what's in New Orleans. My point is, in New Orleans, I think Zion wants out. And everyone says, wait a minute, he can't stay healthy. He only plays X amount of games. He weighs 280 pounds. I think he comes to New York. There's an established culture. And believe it or not, I hate it. New York Knicks look like a more steady franchise than New Orleans. When you have guys like Allen Gentry come and gone, Stan Van Gundy come and gone, these are some good coaches and they couldn't establish winning formulas there. It's something tells you there's something wrong with there. Also, like I mentioned to Chris, I said that New Orleans is a football town. From LSU to the Saints, they're really invested in their football. Remember, NBA used to be in New Orleans years ago in the Jazz. They moved because it didn't work the market. The NBA I feel like the NBA forced New Orleans to have a basketball franchise. And I don't think it's working in New Orleans. That's a tier city. In about 10 years from now, don't be surprised if they get retracted from the league. That's just myself, or be relocated. Chris Paul is married, single, nothing there. Yeah, Steve, I see that way. That's why I think Chris Paul, and we'll get to Chris Paul in a moment, but we're talking about here with Zion. I think you could get Zion on the cheap here. I think you could end up getting Zion to play in New York. But then that's going to mean Randall has to go. I don't think Randall will be part of that trade. I don't think Randall goes to New Orleans. I think you can move Randall for another move. Um, Personally, you bring in Zion in. Do you send Mitchell? You might have to send Mitchell Robinson back to New Orleans. It's I thought it through, and now I'm just thinking it over. 33 million, 36, 38 million for Zion Williamson. Man, I want Zion on New York. My Zion, Barrett, but then what kills it is Barrett, Zion, Quentin Grimes. Grimes has to step up shooting wise. They're still going to be a little too short. They're still going to be undersized for the team. I think Barrett is strong, but man, you need some length on that team. So I don't know, man. Oh, he's got another. Let's got another proposal for Jose Melo. Another proposal: Jaylen Brown for Randall and pick swap. Knicks signed Damon Green. Will also see. Damon Green. Let's look at Damon Green. Now we all know that the Golden State Warriors have a lot. They're over the cap. And Draymond Green this season made 20. Where is his numbers? Jaylen Brown will be $31 million. So money wise with Randall's making a couple $1 million less. So we probably have to give another salary with Brown to go to Boston. But pretty much the numbers are almost right there. Remember, there's also a kicker when it comes to Julius Randle when you trade him. There's I believe a $5 million kicker. So you could pretty much have a swap, but I don't think you swap. I know Boston's gonna want some picks. And we're looking for Draymond Green. There is Draymond Green. Draymond Green next year has a player option at $27 million. So he's eligible for a contract extension, but he also has a $27 million player option. If he wants, he can opt in. If he wants to stay for one more year and run it back with the Golden State Warriors. We also that they're over the cap. We also that they fell short. They're going to have a new team president in that organization. I don't know what the new team president, what the direction on the Golden State Warriors. Could Draymond Green not return back? I don't know. Let's see what this says here. New Orleans care more about alcohol drinks, large mugs, lights than the Pelicans, and also the beads. Don't forget the beads. They forget the beads. But I think they love their football. They're a very good football town. But personally, I think Zion Williamson's gets dealt. One name that I thought Zion might get dealt for, fellas, and the numbers fit almost like a glove. Almost like a glove. I think Zion will go. If he doesn't go to, we all heard that first we heard the Hornets are a team that's interested in Zion Williamson for that second round pick, that's number 2 pick of the draft. Zion is from the South. He is from that Bible Belt section. I believe it's in the Carolinas or Clemson area. If the Hornets don't scoop Zion Williamson in, I believe the Hawks. I think the Hawks will be a place where Zion. You put Zion along with Murray, with Trey Young. That's a dangerous team. I think the moving pieces that will go to New Orleans will be a John Collins. Now John Collins is making $25 million, $26 million again. So he has he's locked up. Zion, they're actually going to save money in New Orleans if they get themselves. They can move on from Zion Williamson, send them to the Atlanta Hawks, probably get a pick back. That's a good one. Be careful. Be careful if the Hawks don't scoop in. So you're telling me, Craig Capella, listen, and this is, I know on paper is as good as paper it is. You can wipe your rear end with it, and that's good. But if you look at this on paper, Murray, Young, Zion Williamson, Clint Capella, and you could put Hunter as your power forward, or Bogdanovich. Just think of that, of the Hawks. That's a dangerous team. With what's the head coach that turned out to be there? That is a dangerous team there. That is a dangerous team for us to compete against. If you put Zion Williamson with the Hawks, and he's going pretty much home. His parents are from there. You don't have to worry. He's still a grown man, and I know. Well, parents could only be an influence Look at John Morant, but that's a whole other conversation. So if you're the Knicks, keep an eye on that. If Zion is being moved, do you really want to see Zion Williamson play for the Hawks with that group of fellas there? Also, the Celtics, the Boston Celtics could be another team that could just want to, they, of course, we have the Jaylen Brown situation. Brown might not want to go to New Orleans, but you could invite him on a 3-team deal, move guys around. Also, the Houston Rockets. You put Houston Rockets, think about that, how the city of Houston will be celebrating with all the performers, the adult performers, where you have James Harden, Zion Williamson in the city of Houston. I mean, my goodness, that's a joke on the side there, but they have the pieces to actually move and bring those two guys into that city, into that team. And Houston could instantly get some credibility with some good talent in there. Steve asked the Lakers. I don't think so, Steve, due to the fact that I don't think the Lakers have anything really that the Pelicans want. We don't. Anthony Davis is the one trade commodity, unless if you're going to do a 3-team deal where you lose an Anthony Davis and you move him somewhere else. And you could bring a Zion Williamson with LeBron James. Does it work? I think LeBron will make it work with anyone. I think LeBron can make it work with anyone. But I think the Lakers' issues they need is shooting. They need to stretch the floor. And they need another shooter at the shoot. They need a shooting guard, that the Buddy Hield, a Chris Walton type of deal. That's why I think the Pacers and Lakers might make a move. Personally, I think the Lakers and Pacers. I think this is the year that the Pacers. I don't know why the Pacers want to move away from Miles Turner, but man, I will keep Miles Turner and build with him. They have a nice nucleus there. There's a lot of talks of Obi Toppin going to the Pacers. The Knicks moving with the Pacers for a Chris Walton package. I kind of would like Chris Walton for the Knicks personally. When he was being out in the draft, I was hoping he would fall to the Knicks for 2 reasons. Chris Walton could shoot the ball. I don't know you need another shooter, but then you're having too many of the same pieces. You already have Quickly, you have Grimes, you have McBride, you bring in Chris Walton with Josh Hart, kind of too many of the same intricate pieces, too many wings, but not enough wings with size. Chris Walton, if you're telling me you're not going to sign Hart, I kind of like to get Hart back on this team. Chris Walton will bring a new dynamic of fans remember, he's Dominican descent. That's why it'll be interesting to bring Chris Walton in for that, especially if Toppin is not going to be part of your long-term deal. He's eligible for a contract, rookie extension. If I'm the Knicks, along with Emmanuel Quickly, you don't need to extend these guys. Everyone quickly wants to run and say, we need to extend them. We need to do a contract extension. There's nothing wrong with them playing for that number that they're playing on now, because even when they become a free agent, they're restricted free agents. And I know my video looks choppy. I can see it. They're restricted free agents. I wouldn't sign. I wouldn't run right away and give a contract extension. Let them play it out. I always told you, nothing motivates a professional player when they're about to get a contract extension. I would love to see Toppin trying to play for a contract extension. I would love to see Quickly with a contract extension. The way we know Emmanuel Quickly, you bet your rear end he is salivating in his chops to come back in the NBA season after having that poor performance in the postseason. The way Quickly gets better yearly after year after year, he's salivating. He is salivating to get back in the gym and waiting for the NBA season to kick off, because I think Quickly's gonna improve greatly. I think he's gonna improve greatly. Look, here we go. Jose Melo, here's a nice one. Knicks are looking to trade for a lower first-round pick from LSU, KJ Williams. I've told you. I think if the Knicks make a move to get back in the lottery in the draft, not a lottery pick, but late in the 20s, anywhere from 25 and up, I think they will try to get back in to try to get a player that they like. If their KJ Williams is there for them, and he's in that range, look for the Knicks to try to move and try to pounce and get back in there. Move one of their um, picks, protected picks that they might see a team that might be good and say, you know what, this pick might not convey, it might convey to second round. And boom, second round picks have a lot of value too. So they could try to move back in for the Knicks there. Um, I've looked at some other names that I don't think the Knicks are going to trade for, but just keep an eye on the salaries. When I'm talking about these players, is their salary cap numbers. John Morant, 33, 36, $38 million. That I know John Morant's having so many issues, and I'm not saying the Knicks are trading for him. No. Don't misinterpret. Don't say, well, he said that the Knicks are getting John. They're not getting John Morant. John Morant's not leaving Memphis. But at 33, 36, and 38, if the Memphis Grizzlies do get fed up with his nonsense, that contract is movable, extremely movable. Remember, every year the cap will go up at least, I think, 10% every year. By the time that contract, and of course, sometimes, and then I said, well, wait a minute, you're complaining about the Valley Beal $53 million contract. I say that same question with Damian Lillard. At the end of the third year, when that kicker kicks in, are we NBA champions? If so, it's working. That's the question I tell everyone: to trade or not to trade. Jose Melo says they think he could be a Richard Hamilton type player. If it happens, RJ is going. Hmm. Let me ask this to you, Melo. With Coach Thibodeau here, he knows what he's going to get from RJ Barrett night in, night out. He already invested the growing pains with RJ Barrett. Do you think Thibodeau, with 2 years, he'll be on his second one? Is this year three? He has four. He'll have 1 year left on his contract. 1 year left, and he's going to be and he's out. Do you think he's going to want to bring in a rookie to play bigger, major part roles in RJ Barrett's minutes? I think Thibodeau will do whatever it takes to keep his team as much intact as possible, because I think he's coaching. He's coaching pretty much for his coaching career. If he does, and if he doesn't like to put his hands on rookies, especially when his career is on the line. So it's tough. There it is. If Thibodeau doesn't work with the team, I think Tyronn Lue is coming. I'm not a fan of Tyronn Lue as a coach. He's, to me, Tyronn Lue is the version of Aaron Boone as a manager. He is a puppet. I think he's a puppet head coach who players tell him when to play, when not to play, and that worries me, Melo. That worries me major when a Tyronn Lue as a head coach. I wouldn't mind Monty Williams, but I don't know if he's available still. I don't know if he's signed with any teams. I don't think Monty Williams, or I want, like, just go into Johnny Bryant. Just give the reins to Johnny Bryant. Sometimes Johnny Bryant's been he knows what worked for Tom Thibodeau, and maybe he sees something different that he would like to add his imprint to. I think I will go with it. You know what? Let's go with the young Johnny Bryant. The team knows that he's there as assistant coach. He gets a lot of props, helping out guys like Emmanuel Quickly. We hear a lot of guys, Quentin Grimes. So that's your guys you're building. I would try to just take Johnny Bryant. I mean, it's great to bring in. I've seen Budenholzer. I don't want no part of Budenholzer. I don't think he's a good head coach. I think Budenholzer. The only reason he won the NBA title because Kevin Durant forgot to cut his toenails. I don't think he would have. Regardless, even with that team with the Bucks, I don't think that he's a good head coach. Budenholzer is not a good head coach. And I've said it. Tyronn Lue, I'm not a big fan of Tyronn Lue as a head coach. I think he's a puppet. I think the NBA players manipulate him and tell him how to play, when to play. He's because he was a former player who team. It's too much of a buddy when it comes to Tyronn Lue as a head coach. I want some guys who could draw me like a Nick Nurse. You telling me, Wayne Casey, believe it or not, guy. I don't want him for the Knicks, but he's a head coach that will go in there with X's and O's and get going. It doesn't work. It didn't work in Detroit because he didn't have any players. He didn't have any players. If you don't have talent, you're not going to be a good coach. Tyronn Lue benefited with having the best of the best players and makes them look good. It's like Steve Nash. Steve Nash was another one. Not a good X's and O's coach, but he was good. He has a winning record because he had good players. That's just my hot take. It wouldn't. That's just my hot take. That's all. So we shall see here before the trading deadline with the Knicks. Yes, Steve Blatt. Steve Blatt. Steve Blatt. He was with the Knicks office for a while. I think he was part of a scouting. I think he was working for the Knicks for a while. I don't know if he still works for the Knicks, Melo. But I don't think he'll coach. I think he had such a bad taste for the NBA life that he says, I'm not coaching this. I'm not coaching in the NBA no more. I think he got disingenuous, or he had a bad taste with the NBA coaching life that I don't think the guy would ever coach an NBA franchise again. I don't think so. Never say never, but it doesn't look like it. He would have back in. Like a Mike D'Antoni. Now, Mike D'Antoni is going to be 80 years old. I don't think he'll coach again, although there was a lot of talks that Houston might want to bring him back to coach the Rockets. He's 80. I don't think he'll try to come back to coach the Rockets again. It's time now to get some new blood in the coaching prospect. So we will have another video. Probably we'll probably get some more folks on to have conversation about any moves or any deals. Me, I just wanted to come on just to put some content out about basketball, have a little bit of chat on a Saturday evening. Saturday morning, afternoon. I know it's thundering out there, so I want to say Happy Father's Day to everyone out there for the Father's Day that's listening to the video. Our Knicks, it's a lot of they got to make some move here because of the collective bargaining agreement that's about to kick in, and they have time to strike. This is the time of year, and I think they'll make a move. Maybe the moves that we not like. I know if I said Jedi, you didn't talk about Zach LaVine. Damn, Zach LaVine. I'd rather have Bradley Beal over Zach LaVine. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. I will have Zach LaVine, though. If I'm going to go with Zach LaVine over Bradley Beal, LaVine makes $40 million, 43, and 45. LaVine could take over a game. And he could drive to the basket. That's a tough one, man. Here's the only difference why I would like Beal, but damn, LaVine intrigues me because LaVine makes a few $1 million less where you could add it to other players. You could keep better players just around Zach LaVine. Although you could say Chicago gave him a lot of good players in Vucevic, but what hurt Chicago, Lonzo Ball, probably had his career's over, probably with that injury. And that's what hurt him personally. I think if Zach LaVine, man, I don't know if he'll come back, how he'll do with Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks. Obviously, RJ Barrett will not be on this team. So if you're going to have a team where Zach LaVine is your shooting guard, or you move him to 3, whichever one you want to play him there, but you have to have Quentin Grimes out there because you need that defensive president, Quentin Grimes, out there, along with Mitchell Robinson if he doesn't get moved. Julius Randle with Jalen Brunson. How do you feel, Knicks fans, if I give you that starting lineup there? So you have Brunson, Grimes, LaVine, Mitchell Robinson, and Julius Randle. Is that going to help us go to the next level? Get to the second round and beyond? I'm asking that question. And of course you leave everything with Hart quickly. Maybe Toppin's not on this team. You got to get yourself a backup power forward. Maybe and that I ask you that question. Do the Knicks improve financially? They'll be more restricted. They'll be more restricted to make any moves to bring anyone in. How do you like that? Monty Williams went with the Pistons. Okay, thank you on that one, Steve. That's a good hire for the Pistons. I think Monty Williams, and of course, Pistons are going to start bringing in better talent. When you get more talent, coaches look better, in my opinion. If I ask you that question, there, I think Levine will be a more prolific scorer. I think Levine will be a more consistent scorer. I think that Levine will get more respectability around the league, more fouls, more calls for the baskets. But I don't know what it mesh with Randall Brunson. You know, Randall and Brunson are isolation type of players. I don't know Levine. He could be isolation as well, but he also could play within moving the ball. It's interesting to see on that one. I'm gonna ask you guys that. I think Bradley Beal plays a little more better personally than Levine. I think Beal is just a more of a pure scorer who could share the basketball more than a Zach Levine. Doesn't require if you want to have Beal to be a shooter, a spotter. Because remember, the reason why, case in point, he played with John Wall, and John Wall was an extremely ball dominant who will get people involved, and Beal had good numbers next to him. I think it works. I think Beal. I will take Beal right now over Levine. I hate to say it, but Levine makes a little more sense to the Knicks financially. So it's a up and down type of deal in my opinion. It's like damn, that's a tough one. That was a tough one there. Um, Trying to talk that. Who's a shoot? It's a shooting guard. Let's see. Austin Jaman from Munich, getting a chance this year in preseason, and we'll see what the Knicks. Let's just be careful. I know we're as Knicks fans, we want to find the next European star, the next Jokic. Um, has his right for 2021. Also, Jokovinas, I mentioned it earlier, Jose Melo. Remember, Jokovinas is a good two-way guard. That's just in case. I think Jokovinas is a backup plan in case they move quickly. If they ever thought about they have to bite the bullet for a major superstar like that, for instance, like I'm not saying it's coming, like they have to add a man quickly to a Joel Embiid. That's where Jokovinas might have to come in. Steve, Villanova coach Jay Wright. I, Steve, I like Jay Wright as a head coach. I don't know if he's interested in coaching the Knicks. I don't think he's interested. I would love Jay Wright to be the head coach of the New York Knicks. I think he has what it takes to get a winning. He's done it in Villanova. He is fundamentally a coach who could get the best out of these players. I don't know if he's interested. I don't know if he's interested. Oh, I don't think the Knicks has offered him the money that would make him interested to coach the Knicks. Remember, money talks, everything else walks. I think I've been a big proponent of Jay Wright as a head coach, but he's never done it in the NBA before. Can it translate winning basketball? Can he be an NBA head coach? We don't know. Could he go down the line of many head coaches that came from the collegiate level and never gave us anything good, or didn't translate as an NBA head coach? Maybe that's why if we're gonna make a move from Tom Thibodeau, I think it'll be. I hate to say it, but it has to be Johnny Bryant. I know he's a rookie who never done it, but the team respects, and there's a body of work with him. I will bring a good assistant head coach with him who has NBA knowledge, who has been an NBA lifer. Like for instance, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if Johnny Bryant is your head coach, you can have a Wayne Casey as your assistant coach there to just oversee, to keep an eye and give that advice, mentor. That's the way I would like if the Knicks to bring a head coach personally. I'm hearing assistant coach from Kentucky, Rose. I really like him. I wouldn't be surprised if Rose does get an opportunity. Remember, Kentucky, New York has a lot of big connection. Not just the Villanova Wildcats, but also Kentucky have a big connection with the Knicks, with Randall and so forth. And speaking about the Kentucky player, I didn't say his name because I do not want the Knicks to trade for him. It's Karl Anthony Towns. I'm not interested in a Karl Anthony Towns playing for the Knicks. He has had a chance to take a franchise and really put it on his back. Minnesota has not won anything with Karl Anthony Towns. Maybe what one they went to a playoff. Um, he's not a good. He's not your number one. He's not a center that would dominate. Although he's big, he's not a and power forwards. He's like a tweener. I'm not a big Karl Anthony Towns. The marketing situation, if Karl Anthony Towns were to come to New York, will be phenomenal. I'm going to give you the pros and cons. Karl Anthony Towns as a Knick will be phenomenal because you could feel good story, local kid from New Jersey, um, Afro Latino, because yes, he is Afro Latino. His father African American, his mother Dominican. So you bring him to New York, the Latino fan base, the Dominican fan base will get invested. And will be phenomenally to get that going in New York. I'm all forward. I'd love to see one of ours like Carmelo Anthony, to see Karl Anthony Towns do well. It's a prideful thing to see an Hispanic do well in the NBA. But let's talk about basketball sense. Karl Anthony Towns doesn't fit the Knicks bill here. He has a bad reputation that perceives himself as being a little bit sluggish on the defensive end. Um, just another Julius Randle with height. If we get frustrated with the Randle type of player, we'll even be frustrated with Karl Anthony Towns. And he's have talked about having not a good state of mental. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to say that you have some. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not to make fun, but the mental makeup. When the Knicks fans start getting venom that he's loafing it or slow or not giving it, how is that going to affect his psyche? The kid has been through a lot, losing his mother to COVID, perseverance. I give him that. He's a battler, a fighter. But I think New York would, even though he was born and raised here, I think New York media and the New York pressure will eat the kid up. I would trust me in a perfect world. Would love to have Karl Anthony Towns, and Chris Duarte on the team. We have two Latinos in there shooting guard at 1-2 tandem along with the other players along the Knicks. Personally, as a personal, I would love it. I will be. You know what? I'll be waving that flag. Let's go, representing. Um, I think he's coaching in Puerto Rico, Jose Melo. I think JJ Barrera is coaching a team in Puerto Rico in their men's basketball league, and I'm doing a good job, by the way, too. I believe. And I would love that but I don't think it makes basketball sense, for Karl Anthony Towns to play in New York. He signed that big contract, man. And I asked that question that can ask all you Knicks fans. At the end of the contract, when he makes that 50 plus million to 60, are we hosting a Larry O'Brien trophy? Before that money kicks in, are we NBA champions? If you say yes, in your heart, you believe that the Knicks are heavyweight NBA world champion, and then we have to pay Karl Anthony Towns thus that $68 million, $67 million contract, then it's worth it. I'd say any one of these players, to trade or not to trade, if we win that NBA title and the following year we have to pay these guys these enormous contracts, then it was worth it. Then it's worth it. If not, if we have not won, and we don't know that. We don't know the future. But if you could say that's the case, he puts us over the top to win an NBA title, then let's go for the trade. And if not, let's hold our assets. Let's keep building. Let's keep, being winning. And at least I'd rather have a shot of making it and falling short than not being in it. So I'd rather have a chance to having the lucky draw or having my in the roulette, my ball land on red than not having a ball in the roulette to try to win an NBA title. That's just my opinion, and I'm gonna stick to that with that. So we shall see there. So we want to thank you this afternoon for everyone that joined us. Jose Melo, Brandon, salute Brandon. Glad you're back home. And Steve, appreciate you guys. Chris, the Flash, everyone that's gonna listen to us a little later, we really appreciate it. Just follow us and subscribe. We thank you guys for letting us get to 5,000 to 10,000, excuse me, subscribers, and we're going to continue to grow. We say have a good night, have a good evening, happy Father's Day to everyone, and we'll say see you next time here on the Return of the Knicks podcast. And I'm going to say peace. I'll play the intro and we out.